An MSP told me recently, we're dealing with some churn stuff, but we now have a list of 500 local businesses that we want to reach out to. And we want to know, how do we go about doing that? And I told them something that they probably weren't expecting, or maybe they didn't want to hear. Oftentimes I am put in the position of having to dole out a little bit of tough love. But what I said to them was, reaching out to 500 prospects, that's not a strategy. That's just an activity. And I'm not just going to give you some generic scripting so you can cold call them or blast out 500 emails to them. What they're really dealing with isn't an outreach issue. They need to think about how to rebuild their entire growth engine from this unfortunate customer churn situation. And if they treat this like a one-time campaign, they're just going to end up right back where they started with very little to show for it. So what did I tell them? We talked about 6 critical points. Point number 1, they needed to do some diagnosis first before doing anything. Before sending out a single email or making a single phone call, it's important to really understand what actually happened, because churn tells you 2 critical things. Churn tells you who not to target moving forward and what messaging not to use. Then it's important to double down and understand, who are your best clients? Who do you want as new clients moving forward? There was a really good book that we read earlier this year as part of my MSP Sales and Marketing Book Club. It was a book called The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. And in that book, he talked about the importance of assessing the vine. And this is going and looking at your existing customer base to really find out, who are your best customers? What types of customers and what types of industries do you win consistently? What problems do those customers have where they're trusting you to solve those problems for them? Because growth doesn't come from having more businesses. It doesn't come from having more customers. It comes from having the right types of customers, because that's what drives real growth. The second critical point that we talked about, and the second insight that I shared was, please don't think of just blasting out these 500 prospects all at once. Because this is where I find some MSPs go wrong. They take their list of 500 companies and they treat them all the same. What I strongly suggested was, please take the time to refine the audience. Build out your ideal client profile to ensure that you're reaching out to the right set of companies, because not all 500 on that list is going to be a good fit for your MSP. I believe it's better to start smaller than scale. I'd rather see an MSP get 10 meaningful conversations out of 50 or 75 highly targeted accounts than 0 conversations from 500 broad ones. Better targeting, that's what ensures a higher response rate and a better return of your time and all your effort. Point number 3 that we discussed, your messaging is everything. It's going to help you succeed in winning conversations with new prospects, or it's going to get you ignored. When MSPs embark upon a marketing and sales campaign, oftentimes their outreach, it doesn't fail because of lack of effort. It fails because of poor messaging. If you're leading with, we provide IT support and cybersecurity, you're going to get ignored, because every MSP says some version of that. It's almost meaningless and irrelevant. What MSPs need to do is they need to lead with their insight. They need to lead with research. They need to lead with something that maybe their target audience doesn't know, not with their services. Your messaging needs to reflect, what your prospects are worried about. What problems are they facing? What issues are they concerned with that's impacting their business and their potential ability to make money? That's what you talk about, not what you sell. And if you can do that, you're going to have a greater chance of getting their attention. Insight and critical point number 4 that we talked about. We spoke about the importance of fixing your first impression. Before anyone ever agrees to booking a meeting with you, they're going to want to check you out. And that means they're going to be checking out, your website. They're going to be checking out LinkedIn. They're going to be checking out your Google business profile. They're going to be assessing your overall online presence. If you don't reinforce professionalism, credibility, authority, and your expertise, any cold outreach that you try to do to your list of 500 is not going to convert, because the buyer's journey has changed. They will hold off speaking to you until they absolutely have to. So it's your online presence and it's your online activity that is responsible for establishing trust and authority with a group of businesses who don't know anything about you. Trust is needed before any conversation will ever take place. And it's your website, it's your LinkedIn activity, it's your Google business profile. They all work together to help create that interest and build that trust. Insight number 5, you want to build a real go-to-market system. Instead of just jumping straight to, hey, let's book a meeting, which they likely won't want to right at the beginning, you need to build a real marketing system that's based on education and providing valuable content first. By providing value first, hopefully this gets the prospect interested to the point where, they'll raise their hand and they'll want to engage. And typically this intent is shown by them either sharing their email address with you or accepting a LinkedIn connection. This is how you establish a relationship with a group of businesses who don't know you. Once you have their email address, you can then begin nurturing that relationship by offering additional relevant and valuable content, to the point where that trust thermometer is getting warm, warm enough where the prospect will agree to a meeting with you. Instead of asking for a prospect's time up front, it's all about building a system that is focused on giving your prospects value first, a checklist, a guide, some sort of assessment. It's critical that you spend time warming up that relationship before asking for their time, which led to kind of the last point of our discussion, the importance of properly structuring their go-to-market motion and executing with discipline. So again, instead of just blasting all 500 businesses with a cold email, select 20 to 30 targeted accounts per week. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Send out weekly emails where you're sharing insights and you're sharing what you are seeing within their industry that can help their business. You never want to pitch. That is how you fill your calendar of interested businesses who've agreed to meet with you. If you're just posting to LinkedIn, if you're just sending out emails without any relevance or contents, that's just noise and it's likely going to get you ignored. So really what I wanted to get across with this MSP in our meeting is that they're at an inflection point with their business right now. I absolutely understand that they're very much concerned about filling a gap because of the churn. But this is something that can't be rushed. These businesses likely already have someone that they're using. And displacing an incumbent, it's not easy. You need to come across as being more thorough, more professional, more in tuned to their market and their needs. Hence why it's always a good best practice to specialize by targeting one vertical at a time and completing what's called a know your customer on that vertical so you can shape your outreach campaign and you can use it to shape your messaging. To really succeed, you need to understand your prospects better than their existing MSP does, because the goal is to gain their trust and create doubt with who they're using today. You want to have a shot of earning their business. No one changes MSPs lightly, so you want to build a system and you want to build a business case to reduce their risk, reduce their worries, in order to get them to even consider making the switch. But that takes time. That takes the right strategy. But the good news is that you don't need to talk to all 500 companies on that list. You only need to talk to the right 15, 20, get them to say yes to fill that gap. So if you're an MSP trying to rebuild after churn, spend some time putting the right marketing, putting the right lead gen system in place. You will come out stronger than you were before with better clients and a better business.